Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Checkpoint Radio. My name is James and with me are my three co-hosts and creators of this show.
Hi, my name is Ben.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Charlie.
And this is episode 1 of a brand new video game podcast. We are four friends who have been gaming since the age of Nintendo 64s, PS1s and Mega Drives, and we wanted to create this podcast to share our passion as well as grow a community of like-minded gamers, and we hope to represent the fans and give a perspective from the people who matter the most, the players. So, without further ado, we have lots coming up in today's show, starting with a look at some recent news, as well as discussing one of the year's most anticipated games, Hogwarts Legacy. So let's get right into it. Well, gentlemen, here we are. It's episode 1. How is everyone feeling? Everyone good?
Yeah, very good, thank you. My birthday today.
Oh, yeah, you're completely right. I guess we should start by saying happy birthday, Ben. 19th of February.
Thank you.
Momentous day. Not only is it episode 1 of Checkpoint Radio, it's Ben's
birthday. It's my birthday.
So you had a good day. What you been up to?
Yeah, great day. I got away with doing absolutely nothing, as you'd expect. I was been chilling, playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign. I've been on a quest to complete every Call of Duty. So I'm finally on the last one now. So I smashed out a ton of COD today and sat on my ass, chilled.
Sounds like a great birthday.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And then had an amazing dinner, loads of people over, and ushered them all out the door so we could get this pod on the road.
Well, the highlight of the day, surely,
Boss.
The podcast.
Yeah. Seeing your faces.
Yeah.
Very good.
Charlie, Connor, what about you boys? What have you been up to?
Watched the football earlier. Obviously been on Valheim this week.
Great game.
Getting back into it as a group again after a bit of a short delay. Hogwarts, and then mainly just Football Manager. Nothing exciting.
Same old.
I've also been smashing out a lot of Valheim and catching up on The Last of Us.
Oh, I still need to watch episode 5.
I've only
really
watched 3 episodes so far, so still a little bit behind, but
five was really, really good.
Yeah, I think it's probably the strongest one so far. I know everyone sort of loved the was it episode 3?
3.
Everyone loved the episode, and obviously it was a great episode. But I think episode 5, you really kind of get the sort of like they really bring the sort of human threat into it. You know, with these without sort of spoiling too much for Charlie because he hasn't seen it yet, but. Yeah, the kind of human threat comes into it, and it's really good the way it kind of ramps up the action and the sort of the next phase of the journey for those of us that have played the game. Obviously, we know what's coming, so it's great to see it sort of developing.
Definitely a shift in tone with this episode. Like you said with the threat, everything's just like amplified by 10. It feels like
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And when you see that
wait.
for the first time as well, coming out of the hole. Yeah, that's cool. I really like that bit. That bit was really good.
Love it.
But yeah, you two have got
I feel like it's been long enough since I've played it that it's kind of all new to me again, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I feel the same. There's a few things I'm like, yeah, I recognise this, and yeah, that's just like the game. But then there's a few other bits where I'm like, I don't remember this. And then
was this in the game? Or?
And it was, but I just forgot.
Yeah. I mean, I did start playing, just to sort of finish up on the last one, I actually started playing through part 1, the PS5 remake, but I stopped myself because my plan was to kind of play up to where the episode ends, so I could kind of like play along with the show as it was airing. But then I was really finding myself not criticising the series, but really comparing it, and it was taking the enjoyment out of watching it.
I see.
So I wanted to kind of watch it with... Kind of like you, Charlie. I haven't played it for so long either, so that's why I wanted to play it as well. But now I'm going to wait till I've finished the series, or the series has finished, until I go back to the game, because I'm kind of putting them side by side too much, and it's sort of ruining it a little bit for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah, apart from that, I've not really been up to too much. Just preparing for this podcast, getting everything ready. I mean, I'm really excited to finally be kind of doing episode 1.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's really fun and playing Valheim with you boys. That's kind of our go-to game at the moment. We're spending loads of hours on that. But yeah. So that's the formalities out of the way. Should we get straight into the news then?
Let's do it.
Right, so we've got quite a bit of news to get through. I mean, never a dull day in the industry, as you all know. Embracer Group. So we wanted to talk about this lot because it's kind of the video game giant you've never heard of, but there's been some big developments over at that studio. Well, it's that studio. It's like a holding company in the past few years. And Connor, why don't you tell us what they've been up to?
So we discussed the Embracer Group fairly recently in a test episode, like just to lift the curtain a little bit. But in the past week, about 10 days, there's been leaks coming out from the CEO had like an in-house press conference, I believe. And what's happened in the past week is they've got their hands on the majority of the IP for Lord of the Rings. Not all of it, but they've acquired a lot.
It's just the video game adaptation rights, isn't it?
Yeah,
as far as I'm aware.
There's something to do with, I think they can do sort of what Amazon's done, but I think Amazon, for the most part, own like the film rights and the TV rights at the moment.
Live action rights, yeah.
Yeah, so they've got 5 Lord of the Rings games that are going to be coming out in the next 48 months.
Exciting.
Jesus.
So,
Are some of the titles already released?
Yes.
Like we know.
no, announced, not released.
Sorry.
Yet.
So is that Gollum game part of this?
Yes.
This
Yes.
new slate then.
So
Okay.
I'll start with the Lord of the Rings ones quickly, and then what's going on with Eidos and Crystal Dynamics. So Lord of the Rings Gollum, which is that stealth action game, which is due to come out this summer. That's part of it. There's a Lord of the Rings mobile game coming out, and there's also, we saw it at the Epic Showcase, there's like a slight teaser trailer of Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, which is that Valheim sort of procedurally generated game.
Okay.
Oh, right, okay.
That could be
I don't
cool.
know about this.
That's got my interest already.
It's
You
about
say Valheim, I'm immediately interested in that.
Oh, wait,
He is,
what?
he is prick up.
the teaser is about a minute long,
Right.
and basically you are a dwarves. You create your character, and it looks like the characters look quite similar to Valheim. Obviously,
Okay.
the graphics are better, and you're taking, the goal of the game is to take back a procedurally generated version of their home. So there's crafting in it. There's so very similar to Valheim. Not much else is known, and there's 2 other games in the works that we don't know of yet.
Shadow of War follow-up, maybe?
Maybe, and there's
Yeah, that'd be great to see.
one of Peter Jackson's companies, I think, are starting to get into games. So I think that might be one of the people that are creating a game.
Okay.
Okay.
But they haven't messed around though. Like if you say
No.
Gollum's coming out later this year in
It was meant to come
summertime,
out last year, but yeah, it's
but
coming out.
they only grabbed the rights to Lord of the Rings in August last year.
I don't know how it worked. I don't know if they bought the studio that was making that game and then got the
Oh.
rights, or vice versa.
I see.
Because you look at, they own THQ Nordic, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos, Gearbox.
Well, let's
name a few.
before we kind of go on into the Lord of the Rings thing. Let's take a look at the company as a whole, because this is quite interesting. Obviously, a lot of fuss has been made of the Activision acquisition, well, the possibility of the Activision acquisition by Microsoft, but the Embracer Group are kind of going under the radar. They're buying everything, and this has been going on for years now. So THQ is one of the studios they've acquired. Saber Interactive, Deep Silver, Gearbox Software as of 2021. That cost them $1.3 billion to acquire them. Square Enix, as you say. Coffee Stain Publishing, who publish Valheim. So some of the games under some of these banners: Destroy All Humans, Generation Zero, Quantum Break, SnowRunner, World War Z, Dead Island 2, Saints Row, Chivalry 2, Metro, Persona, Borderlands. The list literally goes on, and you have heard of at least 1, 2, maybe 3 of those games. So their reach is huge. They've got 224 projects in active development, including the 5 Lord of the Rings games that you mentioned, Connor, and 11,000 employees globally. So, you know, people sit there and they talk about this Activision thing. I mean, Embracer Group, they're going to have a serious monopoly on the industry.
Yeah.
And they've
Like if you
also
haven't
got-
heard of them now, you'll hear about them real
Absolutely.
soon.
and they've got a working relationship with Xbox at the moment as well. Perfect Dark, which they're now helming, which is a collab between the Initiative and Crystal Dynamics, is being funded by Microsoft, and they're also helping out with Fable. I think Eidos Montreal are helping out with Fable.
Crazy.
So
Yeah, they're definitely a powerhouse, or fast becoming.
they've gone around really smart. THQ was like on their knees. They were close to like shutting down doors, so they bought their IP off of them. Crystal Dynamics was struggling slightly, and then they got involved, and then Amazon got involved, so that's being funded. They're not funding Tomb Raider, from what I understand. I think Amazon are. They're just going to
really?
be getting the Amazon have got the Tomb Raider IP now. That's why they've
Yeah, I heard
TV
about this.
show and the
Oh,
film.
okay. Yeah, that makes
Aren't
sense.
they reboot?
Yeah.
Excuse me. They're rebooting the movies, aren't they?
Yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridges is
Okay.
penning the TV show, I believe.
Fair.
So
That's cool.
they're buying up everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I
sort
know
of
that
in the shadows.
Yeah, a lot of the studios that we mentioned are like subsidiaries of the Embracer Group, so they kind of can operate independently, but ultimately all the kind of profit and stuff goes through them, and like the funding and everything will go through them, because they're the ones who are kind of like, you know, basically controlling ultimately all of these companies, even though they've largely got autonomy on the games that they develop.
Yeah. They actually, as of September 22, the Embracer Group has got 132 game development studios under their banner.
Crikey.
So
Crazy, isn't it?
it's a
That's
lot.
mad.
Way more than Xbox has. I think for
That's
Xbox, though,
it.
the problem is that they're constantly in the limelight because they are one of 3 big
It's more than-
console makers, and obviously they're spending a lot of money on this potential Activision
They've
deal.
got more than Sony and Xbox, and probably maybe even Nintendo combined at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think they're smart
Yeah.
because I doubt they're going to make a console. They're going to
No.
let Sony and Microsoft take the loss on the consoles. They're just going to
They're just going to make
have
the
all these
software.
massive titles.
Yeah. No, to be honest, I think that's exactly why there's not a big fuss about Embracer Group buying everything up, whereas there is a big fuss about obviously the Xbox
Activision.
acquisition of
Yeah.
Activision.
Also, it doesn't
Precisely.
help that they're doing it quietly. Sony and Microsoft are sort of like taking shots at each other whilst this is going on in the background.
Bit
It's
of
like
dick swinging
Microsoft
going
have
on
done-
there, isn't it? Well,
Microsoft
you
have done
want to buy Bethesda, well, I'm buying
Yeah.
Bungie.
Microsoft have done some dodgy dealings. Sony have done some dodgy dealings. Now they're
Yeah.
chirping at each other. They're
But
both probably in the wrong.
Yeah, they haven't got the problem of like you said, kind of like, because they don't, obviously they've got no commitment to a console, because they
No.
just make third-party games, and I'm sure that they will license some exclusivity to one of the
Yeah.
consoles at some point. That'll be part of the business.
Well,
But they
I'm
can just-
assuming.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but they can just
So,
buy the studios and buy the
Yeah.
publishers, and then just continue to sort of profit off of the games that they're making, and not really piss anyone off.
no. So they've come in. Perfect Dark will be a Microsoft exclusive.
But they'll
We
get a
know
cut
that, and
because Crystal Dynamics are helping development.
Yeah. And there's bound to be a studio that they own that's probably got a very, very good working relationship with Sony, even if it's a 6-month exclusive.
Yeah.
It's money in their pocket.
Mm.
And you look at the IP they own.
Mm.
It's not just going to stay at video games, especially with this TV and film sort of
Yeah.
renaissance of
Yeah.
shows and films that are coming out. They're actually pretty decent.
Well, it's
Tomb Raider.
interesting because, you know, having these studios like Amazon, for example, that are capable of making the TV shows, the films, and the games. A similar thing happening with the newly reformed DC studios. Like their plan going forward is to incorporate video game development into their kind of slate of DC TV shows and films. So this kind of like, I remember back at when I was at school and I did a media studies. And one of the segments of that was new media, and this kind of like, I think it was called transmedia at the time, where you'd have like an IP that could be kind of produced or developed for different mediums, and it would all kind of like promote the story of this IP. Halo, for example. I know the TV is not canon to the TV show, but Halo being an example, like you'd have a Halo game, then a TV series, then a comic book, then an animated series.
The Matrix was a great example of that.
Yeah,
They had
yeah.
like comics, games, and
Visual novels, comics,
Yeah, that's it.
books.
Yeah.
they all contributed to the ultimate story.
Yeah,
All
because
canon.
the Embracer Group, like if you go and look them up on the internet, they describe themselves as a entertainment and video game holding company. So it's not like, oh, we specialize in video games. It's like they kind of got their, or they're maybe looking to get their finger in all different types of pies.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, to me, it seems like their strategy is to nab as much of the market as possible and just piggyback on the success. And then once, if they have a game failure here or there, it's not actually that damaging to them because they'll have so many other projects in the line.
I'd like to know who controls their acquisitions, because they're not going and buying, like, we're going to talk about them later, but like Respawn. They're not going to go and get a big big studio.
It's more
They're
like
buying-
it's strange because a lot of the names that we kind of listed off a minute ago, they're games and studios that you've definitely heard of. So it's
And
like they're recognisable names, but they're not kind of like too high profile that it's gonna cause a bit of a stir as the Activision and Call of Duty stuff with Xbox has done.
THQ were massive when we were growing up. They owned everything. They made the wrestling games, Tony Hawk's, like the list
Probably
goes
loads
on.
of others.
Yeah. Eidos would make it. I think they were doing. I think the Colin McRae games or some sort of racing game.
Yeah, I've got memories of them, like PS1 era.
Mm.
I couldn't tell you the names now, but off the titles.
Eidos obviously make Deus Ex, and like the first Deus Ex on PC is regarded as one of the greatest games of all time, but it's fallen on hard times a little bit. Take that could easily become a TV series, and be a very good TV series.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see where that goes next because there's no sign of the Embracer Group actually slowing down when it comes to these acquisitions. So I guess we'll keep an eye out for that and see how that goes. Right, next up for news, Apex Legends. This is one of my favourite games
Deathmatch.
of all time. Team Deathmatch, new season update. Has anyone played it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think TDM, it's been out on the Apex mobile version, which is actually getting closed down soon. But yeah, TDM has just released. It came out with the new season on February 14th. It's a limited time event, only lasting for about a month and ending on March the 7th, when they'll introduce a new mixtape playlist, which will include some of the previously but previous limited event game modes, all into like a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But I think TDM's great. Jumped on it. Gives you that kind of arenas feel where it's not the commitment of playing a full-on battle royale with the time it takes to loot and everything, but just the action that you crave really instantly. There's not much punish when you die, and I think it's lots of fun. And when I jumped on it, I was hooked.
Yeah, because the general kind of mechanics of that game and the gunplay is just solid, like straight 9, 10 out of 10. The gun mechanics are so good in that game, and it is really satisfying to kind of just to play generally. You know, it's one of those. Yeah. For me, it's one of those shooters at the moment that is sort of your go-to, and for a lot of people, Apex is like their go-to shooter, and we've got a lot of shooters out, you know, Call of Duty, even like other battle royales like PUBG and Fortnite. But Apex, you know, I remember when it came out, it kind of like just came out of nowhere, and like you and I, Ben, we jumped on it like literally day one. It was like, fucking hell, we've seen this new game has come out.
It's like you can play the game now. And the one thing that impresses me about Apex is the fact that they just managed to keep the numbers for so long. Yeah. Like I'm just looking at the Steam charts now, and it's got 200,000 people playing it. And this game has just continued to have like a high player count consistently. It's never faltered. But they're always people love it.
Updating it and always rotating like stuff on it. And it kind of, whereas some games, do you remember there was a period with Warzone 1 where it was just radio silent from the devs? Yeah. There were cheaters everywhere. Yeah. There was no word on when they were going to sort out the issues with the game. There was no updates coming. And it was just like, well, what the fuck? Have you literally just turned the server on in the server room and then fucked off and left everyone to do what they want?
Well, I think they've just dropped TDM. I think they've already changed it because it was round based, and now we played a game earlier where it was first to 50. Yeah, because I think there was some people going, why is it round based?
Interesting.
Some sort of hoo-ha about it earlier.
I've not seen anything about that. No. I haven't played it today.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a bit gutted because I really like the arenas. I don't know if it's controversial. I don't like the battle royale. It's not for me. Yeah, I can't.
It's not
get
everyone's
to
cup
grips
of
with
tea.
It, but I love the arenas.
I've fallen out of love.
Yeah, I think the problem with well, as far as we're aware, it will be back at some point because I think it looks like maybe it looks like the plan going forward for Apex is to kind of rotate these game modes on a regular basis. But as for the battle royale, I kind of agree with that actually. I well, like I just said, me and Ben played that game when it dropped, played it for many hours, sort of in the following weeks and months and years, and then left it for a bit. But then when Arenas came out, that really brought me back to the game because it was a super competitive sort of like highly challenging, skill-based,
short and
you
sweet.
versus them. And like, because there's a lot of bullshit with BR games, and we've played enough of battle royale games in recent years to know this and understand this, that it can take kind of so long. Like the mid game in most battle royales is just painful. And I don't think there's a single BR game out there that's got that bit right, and a lot of it is down to sort of your input and but with arenas. Yeah, so it's a really solid game mode, and I'm really glad they've added TDM, because they did have like a control sort of based game mode.
It's really good.
A few
game
seasons ago, which was also really fun. So I'm
I
hoping.
Never played that.
Yeah, it was good, but I'm hoping that they can kind of put all of these game modes into a bag and then just rotate them regularly, even if it's like weekly or seasonally or whatever, just to keep it fresh, and always kind of change and evolve it.
Yeah, I think that's the plan for this mixtape. That we will see all the previous formats come back on a sort of a short time period. So I don't know if that's going to be the permanent sort of addition to the game once March 7th comes around, but who knows?
I'd like to be able to just choose your game mode, though. I think they've got a big enough player base that you could run TDM, arenas, whatever this control mode was, simultaneously.
My one criticism with the game is the matchmaking, because there have been many times where I've matched into a game in arenas, for example, and been on a smaller team with a missing player, and similarly been matched against a team with a missing player. And even the same with this recent TDM update. It's not good, because the game is so kind of like balanced and competitive that one missing person can throw the whole thing off. Yeah, so it kind of sucks that there's still those issues with matchmaking in the game.
It's a running theme with EA games. The matchmaking's never good. Like me and James, we used to especially play a lot of FIFA. The servers are terrible.
Yeah,
2 out of 3 games are always going to be buggy.
EA are stingy. They don't want to pay for more servers and more bandwidth.
I know Battlefield sort of fought against it with its own server browser, so people could host stuff. It's definitely something EA needs to look at, but they probably won't.
Yeah. Well, just to wrap up with Apex, there's been some actually news from the business side. A couple of high-profile employees have left. Chad Grenier, who was at Respawn for 11 years, has left, and to form a new studio called Wildlight Entertainment with former Respawn employees. He was at Respawn for 11 years, and they're looking to create another shooter, I believe, just independently, without kind of the EA hanging over them and telling them what to do.
That sounds like it's got promise.
And I'm excited by that. I mean, Respawn have made some amazing games, and I kind of have the trust that these devs know what they're doing enough that they can branch off, do their own thing. They probably have an amazing idea in mind. Yeah. Enough for them to leave. So, yeah, definitely excited to see what they create when the time comes.
Well, they're not the first, so like, a few people from Respawn left, I think, was it last year or maybe the year before, to form Gravity Well Games. Yeah. And the people that left then to form that studio, they had some serious kind of like work on their CVs, going from back to Modern Warfare, like OG back in the day, Titanfall 1 and 2 and Apex Legends. Like, if you've worked on all of those games and you list that in your kind of CV, that's like you're listing off the best first-person shooters of all time. So another sort of small studio that we can keep a lookout for in the future.
Not surprised they've left. EA have had a load of cuts recently. Obviously, Titanfall Legends got cancelled whilst it was in the works. A lot of cutbacks. Yeah. Apex Legends, the mobile game, they're just getting rid of. So probably sick of, like you said, of EA just getting involved all the time.
It could be something to do with it. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with those two studios, and hopefully we'll see some news soon about what they're working on, because I'm really excited to see that. So moving on from Apex, game release, an unexpected game release, Sons of the Forest, the most wishlisted game on Steam, is going into early access to avoid further delays.
I like that strategy. We had a brief discussion about this off the pod, about the games that will get delayed endlessly or seemingly endlessly, but the strategy behind releasing a game in early access to avoid delays, and then they can also hold their hands up and say, any bugs, any issues that you face, the game's still in early access. It's just kind of win for everyone, really.
It's kind of like, you have to pay us to test out a game for us, and then we'll fix what you find.
Yeah, And I'm fine with that. I mean, like, look at Valheim. That's a great example of a game that's technically in early access, but performs way better than...
With Valheim, though, that studio is better than 99% of early access studios because they're constantly updating and they're constantly telling you what's going on.
Yeah.
That's it.
So if this is going to be like that, then I'm all for spending my money. But a lot of these early access games are dodgy.
For this game in particular, I don't think that it's an issue. I think they're going to be all right. I mean, the first title, The Forest, also released in early access.
That wasn't one of the
pretty swimmingly.
It was one of the early access sort of success stories from
originals
from the beginning.
Yeah.
I guess they've got that good faith then, haven't they? If they've done it before and they've done it to some sort of degree of success. My only kind of issue with I've got several issues with early access games, but I'm always skeptical that is it going to draw out development for longer, because there's kind of like that relief that the game is not being delayed. They've not pissed off the fans by delaying the game. They've given them the game essentially. So now there's kind of no pressure to sort of meet these deadlines. So I do think that is kind of like, for me personally, it would be nice if they say, okay, right, the game is coming out in early access because we don't want to delay it, so you can play it in the state that it's in. However, the firm release date is this date, and version 1 will be released on this date.
They've not given a firm release date. They've said that they've approximated about 6 to 8 months before it becomes a full release.
Yeah, I think it depends on like the genre of game though, because for instance, Valheim and then Sons of the Forest, they're both survival games, and I feel like the scope of a really good survival game is quite expansive. Like with Valheim, for instance, the additional content they can continue to bring is kind of like endless. You can continue to bring loads more to that game. So I feel like with survival games, because the scope of like all the tools that you can make and all the buildings you can build or all of the survival elements of the game are so much more intricate, that having an extended development just allows them to just go deeper and delve even further into like how epic the game could be, if that made any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But then there's also the question of like, what do they hold back for the full release? If they consistently kind of drip feed bits that they've developed and added to the game over the months, then the difference of the game sort of pre-release and then full release has to be substantial for me anyway, because then it's like you've played the game already. You've played the game months before it's come out, and there's no sort of real big difference unless you get really sort of early in and you're playing the game in like a barely playable state, and then you've sort of stuck with it all the way through to kind of the 1.0 release, and it is like a fully finished game with all these extra features in it. I kind of don't understand, like, well, saying I don't understand is not the right way to describe it. I don't kind of, for me, it's just a weird one, because I would rather them just delay the game and me not play it until it comes out and it's finished.
Yeah, I see.
I don't understand why they just didn't release a beta.
Yeah, release a snippet of the game that lasts like 10 hours.
Maybe like just offer to the people that played The Forest. I know they've. Yeah. I'm really excited for the game. I think the game looks great. I really like the AI they give you, the NPC. I think that's a good thing to eliminate people that maybe haven't got people to play with. I think that's a really good idea. But if they're 6 to 8 months away, they should be ramping up to go gold. So it does reek like we're going to need your money to even get this game out.
Yeah,
it's my only gripe with it.
Yeah, does it just enable them to extend development?
It's the complacency thing. Like that's the thing that I kind of don't. I mean, I obviously we're just fans. We're not privy to what goes on in the industry in these studios when they develop the games. But for a fan on the outside looking in, I kind of like get the impression that for some of the people working on the game, they might think, oh, what a relief. We don't have to, do crunching work hours to get the game out now. Now we can sort of like chill for a little bit and, sort of take our time with it, and we'll just pin a release date down that's like 8 months away. Like if so, my question to them would be if your publisher said to you, you're not going into early access, get the game fucking finished. When do you realistically think the game would be finished? I guarantee that date will be different to what they've kind of proposed in this 6 to 8 month time frame. It'd be a lot shorter. Well, that's my hunch anyway.
Yeah.
It does reek of like PUBG was in early access for years. You've obviously got the money laundering scheme that is Star Citizen. Right. How long is early access going for?
Well, this is
PUBG?
the thing. How long is early access going for? Yeah. Like how there are games like Valheim, as good as it is, it's been in early access for 2 years. That's not early access. Your game is not finished. It's not developed. Like you need to release 1.0 like now for it to actually, for that early access period to be any sort of credible sort of, you know, in terms of kind of fan involvement and player involvement and feedback and stuff like that, because it's like you've just ran a 2-year fucking QA test. And it's just for me, it's just a little bit of a, I get why some developers can do it, particularly independent studios. You know, they might need the additional income. That's fine. Valheim are actually the developers are quite lucky that they've made a really good game in the state that it was in when they released it into early access was, you know, pretty good compared to games that are fully released and broken. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned Star Citizen, Connor. We're never going to see that game. Why would they change anything now? They got players that are in there. They're spending thousands of pounds on the game.
It's essentially got a subscription base, but which isn't capped at like $9.99 a month because people are buying all sorts of stuff. I think the older I get, the more cynical towards these studios I get. You see the day before, like losing their trademark to a fucking calendar. Like, I don't trust these studios. Like,
that game's never coming out.
It's never coming out, and
it's been delisted, isn't it? Because that was the whole thing for Sons of the Forest. Is the most wishlisted game on Steam, and it dethroned the day before because it got delisted because it's probably a scam.
And half of me is like brilliant because they've also dethroned Starfield, which we don't know whether it's coming out this year at this point. They're ramping things up for an event, but that's been delayed, so we don't know when that's coming out. And this game, they've sort of said, it's out on the 23rd in early access, so people are getting excited for it.
Yeah.
But then part of me's like, 18 months, 2 years from now, where is the game? Is it still in early access?
Maybe it's because we remember the time when you could go to the shop, buy a game, and that was it. That was the game. It was done.
The day
you pop it into your console, you played it start to finish, and they couldn't do anything else to it. It was done.
The day one patch ruined video games.
The day one patch has ruined video games. Right then, shall we move on then?
Yeah.
So, arguably the first biggest game release of the year, Hogwarts Legacy. We've all been playing it. This is a game that I think many of us probably fantasized about when we were growing up, watching Harry Potter, you know, growing up with Ron, Harry and Hermione, wishing that we could go to that school and Wingardium Leviosa our bullies over ledges and into trash cans. Well, here we are. We're able to do that in some regard, you know, some digitally, I guess. So, initial impressions, what do we think? I think we've all spent a varying amount of time on the game. Charlie, I'm really interested actually to hear what you think, because I know you're not a Harry Potter fan, but you are enjoying the game.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm very pleasantly surprised with this game. I think you guys all know that pre-release, I was pretty much indifferent about this game. You were all very hyped, looking forward to it.
Such a Hufflepuff.
And I was like, meh. I don't hate Harry Potter. I'm just
don't
like
care for
not.
it.
I'm just not a huge fan. Like, I've seen the films once. That's enough for me. Yeah, very pleasantly surprised.
So Ben obviously shared his library with you whilst he was away from work, so you could play it.
Yeah.
It got its claws under you clearly because you bought it now.
I have. I'm big enough to admit that I have given them my money.
What's made you go back to it? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. It just drew me in. I've been enjoying all of it really. I like the combat. I think that's very good. It feels so good when you chain together like a sick combo of spells And
Yeah,
just,
it does. It
like,
really, really does.
It really does. It reminds me of like Arkham Knight or
Yeah.
something. Like you can really pull some sick combos together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
And, like,
counter.
Yeah, and I've got to a point now where I'm only 8 hours in, maybe something like that.
Mm.
So I've not unlocked a huge amount of spells, but I've got enough now that I can kind of mash people up, which is fun.
Yeah.
Mm.
You don't really need a Vada Kedavra when you can set people on fire and then fucking depulso them off the edge of a cliff.
Or freeze them.
Yeah, he's
Freeze them
fine,
and
he's
slash
fine.
them into bits.
He's
So I've not got those yet, but I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was saying to Connor the other day, I find myself like I'll be running somewhere for one of the quests and then like just get sidetracked for like 2 hours doing just other stuff. So yeah,
Puzzles and little side missions and finding
Yeah.
this or that or the other. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I really underestimated about the game because, admittedly, like I was hyped for the game, massively hyped for the game. But aside from maybe watching one or two gameplay videos that were released for promotion, I wasn't really sure what to expect from the game. But the open world is brilliant. It's amazing. Like there's so much to see, and when you get your broom and you can sort of like get around a bit easier, it becomes like this open world sandbox like playground in the same sense that The Witcher's like that and like GTA's like that, and you can go to all these little hamlets around the castle and around Hogsmeade and interact with people and tip singers and dancers and stuff at the side of the road, and you know, find all these little merchants and buy all sorts of stuff off them, and then the puzzles and like the Merlin trials and all these things going on. I was trying to get as much of the story done before recording this podcast so I could talk about it sort of in a little bit more in depth. But like you just said, Charlie, there's so much that distracts you when you're sort of just playing the game.
Yeah.
And when I first turned the game on and I kind of got out of the intro and I could sort of free roam a little bit, I walked around the castle for fucking hours because the castle is a real achievement, in my opinion, from the developers.
It really
It
is.
is absolutely stunning. It looks amazing.
Yeah, I found when I started to play the game, when I got the freedom to go and explore, I was the same as you, James. I was exploring all the different rooms that you could find, solving the puzzles, talking to as many people as I could. And I found that when I was talking to someone to accept a quest, I had genuine interest and wanted to listen to all the dialogue options. And I'm quite a patient gamer. I will play and I won't skip cutscenes, but I might skip optional dialogue because once I know what the quest is, I'm not really too fussed about all the intricacies about whatever mission I'm about to go on to.
Yeah.
But with this, I just found myself not like riveted, like I'm sat on the edge of my seat, but I just found myself completely immersed in the world enough to want to have a great understanding of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I feel like the way the game drip feeds you like abilities and different game mechanics, like I'm like 20 plus, maybe even more hours into the game, and now the game introduces to me beasts or like
and the room of requirement and
and the room
stuff
of
like
requirement. I haven't even unlocked all of that yet, and
yeah.
I feel that drip feed of new things to do has just kept me so interested for so much longer. And another thing I want to say is, once I complete a game, very rarely will I go back and maybe do all the achievements or collect all the collectibles. I haven't done that for years. Like once I've done with the main story, I'm done. But I genuinely feel like I want to 100% it. I want to collect all the pages. I want to collect and see. I just want 100% my guidebook, and I really want to do that. I haven't had that urge in hundreds of games I've played. So
I feel the same.
yeah,
I'm pleasantly surprised. I was a little bit skeptical leading up to launch. I think it's just the veteran gamer in me. Like they've showed this looks good. I thought you'd be stuck just in like the grounds of Hogwarts. I didn't think they'd have that
maybe
much.
you have like one town and like Hogsmeade or something.
Yeah, I thought you'd have Hogsmeade and then you'd have that, and then there'd be stuff blocked off, and you might go to certain places because of missions, but probably never go back. But I sort of forgot that Avalanche were involved, and like I should have expected this after like Mad Max was incredible.
yeah, one of my favorites.
It's charming. It feels refreshing, and I don't remember the last time a AAA game makes me want to go and do all the side quests.
Yeah.
The drip feeding, like you said, works perfectly. It's not like Fallout where it's right, you're out, there's the world. I'd probably get nothing done because I'd be running around trying everything. But this, it's like, right, you've got to go to this class. You've got to go and throw a mandrake at this random thing. Then I'll teach you a spell. And you go back, and then you get the new spell, and then you go, right, I want to try this.
The pacing of the game, like, generally, is actually very good. I don't know what it is about the game, but, like, it makes me... I like games that are immersive and got to be sucked into the world and stuff, but I don't usually play games like that. Usually with games, I'll just kind of, like, do what I want, particularly with open world games. There are very few games that make me want to play the game as if I'm the character, like what fits narratively, you know, within that world. Red Dead is one of those games, and but with Hogwarts Legacy, it was just kind of like, if I'd go out and do a mission and like that was off-site, and I'd kind of go off or away from the school, for example, and I'd get changed to something, I'd get changed back into my school uniform when I'm going back to the school and going to the classes, because I don't want to be sat in. I don't want to be sat in the fucking classroom with like some funky purple hat on, some weird mask on, and like dressed in just like the most outrageous costume, because that's so immersion breaking for me. So I'll get changed back into my uniform and go to class as if I haven't just fucking obliterated 20 dudes outside Hogwarts ground. Like everything's normal.
Harry Potter could never. Yeah, I do the exact same thing, James. I have my school uniform and I am wearing the default gown, and I've got my exploration uniform, and I went upstairs because my brother's playing it too. He's fucking sat in class wearing some funky ass outfit that no other student is wearing. I'm like, why are you not wearing the uniform? Like, you're a student. I don't know. He doesn't get it.
See, that's me. Just combat rolling across the whole school.
Yeah.
Looking like a Saints Row cutscene.
Yeah. Combat rolling, spamming R. That's me.
Yeah.
But the game is great, and I feel like they've nailed it. Going back to the point that you made earlier, James, about wanting to have a proper Harry Potter Hogwarts game as a kid, loving the films, loving the books. This game, if this game came out when I was a kid, this would probably be my favourite game. Like, I'm not mad about Harry Potter. Like, I appreciate it and I enjoy it, but this game is everything that I wanted when I was a kid, when I wanted the Harry Potter game that I dreamed of.
I mean, I think I'm the same as you, but I'm not like a huge Harry Potter fan. I'm definitely a fan. Like, I've seen all the films too. And I've seen them multiple times. And, you know, Prisoner of Azkaban is a fantastic movie, as is The Deathly Hallows Part 1. But, like, I'm not like a huge fan, and like my Harry Potter lore and knowledge is good, but it's not amazing like some people have. But there's something about this world, and particularly the way the game is being created, where it captures that sense of like fantasy and magic that you kind of loved when you was a kid and you were reading the books and watching the films for the first time, and it really draws you in, and it feels very comforting to kind of, you know, as an adult experience that in and appreciate it in the way that you would have appreciated it if you had the chance to play that game growing up. Yeah. So in terms of but you know, we can sit here and kind of fanboy about the game. I've actually do have some criticisms of the game. Like,
I've got a few.
There are serious performance issues on PC. Like, ray tracing is busted. It's broken. It just doesn't work, and there are massive frame drops. But I think they've released a couple of updates that have addressed some of the frame drops in particular. But I've not tried the game with ray tracing on. But it looks and plays better with it switched off. Like, the reflections are better when ray tracing is off.
It's funny you say
weird.
that, because I did play it post-patch, and I have got all the ray tracing on. I've actually noticed an FPS drop overall from the update since. I haven't tried it with the ray tracing off. I will do, but yeah, I noticed a bit of a frame drop. But I'm the same as you. I get the frame drops, the stutters, the freezes. Most of the time it's fine, but it can be quite jarring for sure.
Yeah.
I've had Hogsmeade's like very choppy for me. I don't know why. And then also I've noticed, you know, the little save logo at the bottom? Like, it will just be, I will see the outline of the box that's animated, and like the pixels go across, which is quite emotional.
Do you ever get that with the start menu as well? When you pause it, you get the blue box in the background where it's kind of like not rendered the menu like items properly. That's happened to me a few times.
I've not had any of those. I've had like a bit of frame dropping.
Yeah.
But like quite infrequently, I'd say. But I've not had any of the other
But
stuff.
I think overall though, that it's not enough for me to dislike the game or to tell people not to buy it. Like I wouldn't tell someone not to buy it based on that, because there are issues that aren't kind of game breaking for me. They're annoying, but it's nothing kind of that you, as sad as it might sound, nothing that you wouldn't really expect from AAA game development in 2023.
And a game this size as well.
And a game this
That's
size.
it. I mean, by as far as bugs and game breaking issues go, like this is an exemplary example of a AAA title doing it really well and achieving what most AAA developers can't at the minute do. So yeah, I mean, typical Avalanche really, but
get a couple of the mouth doesn't always sync up with the words. That's happened a couple of times.
I quite like that though. That reminds me of like The Witcher. Like The Witcher's got these really sort of quirky kind of like visual things and like animations and stuff. And when I spent like a decent amount of time on Hogwarts Legacy, I was thinking about The Witcher at the same time. Not because it's like this epic kind of open world RPG, because I mean, to be honest, the RPG mechanics are very light in comparison. Yeah. But there's these kind of like strange quirks that Hogwarts Legacy has that remind me of The Witcher. That was some of the reasons why I fell in love with the game, because they were silly, like you'd turn around and Roach would be on the roof of a house, like things like that. And it just makes you laugh because it's like, well, that shouldn't be happening, but it's just funny anyway. Yeah.
Also,
maybe you should.
They've nailed like the British charm, and I don't know how else to word it, because I'm so used to like American games, and it's like everything's American, everything's about America. It's like this, and that, and third. Yeah. But you've got like Simon Pegg's in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. They've just nailed like the British sense of humour and like the little tongue-in-cheek jokes and like the teachers.
And the sayings.
Some of the teachers are a bit snooty, and like, some of them are anyway. It's like, I don't know.
I find myself repeating back the lines in the like excellent English that they speak. That obviously we're very not excellent English, but going back to the lip sync, I watched this video a while back about this game development, and I have what's the word I'm trying to look for? Basically, apparently developing a game and lip syncing is I can't even lip sync right now. Lip syncing is apparently one of the developers' most hated parts of developing a game, because apparently it's just so difficult. So whoever was tasked with making the characters lip sync, that was like, we're sorry, but you have to lip sync. And they're like, no, it's the worst job, because apparently it's so hard to nail.
It's got to be awful to do. Unless you're mocapping.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got a couple of other criticisms actually that I'd like to kind of share with you guys, because I'm interested to see what your thoughts are. So we talked about the game being quite immersive and, you know, going back to class and putting your school uniform on and like pretending that you're a student and things like that. But for anyone who's tried being a dark wizard or doing naughty things, this is where the game kind of falls a little bit flat for me personally. Because one of the things that for me is not quite right with this aspect of the game, the player character's dialogue is always too nice and too cheery. Like I'll literally go and kill a bunch of fucking Ashwinder duelists, and like I'll just destroy them. They'll be fucking wrecked by the time I'm finished with them. And then I'll like walk past Hogsmeade, and he'll be like, "Oh, they say all roads lead to Hogsmeade." He's like, "Dude, you just killed like 20 people."
I know.
And like, there's just things like that kind of break that immersion for me. And I was thinking that, do you think that the game would have been better served if they had some kind of karma system in it that, you know, if it went either way, good or bad, it would change NPC's perspective of you?
Yeah, I completely agree. Because like you said, you'll just go and absolutely murder someone, and then you'll get rewarded at the end of it. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe you've got rid of that troll, or you've got rid of these for me. Thank you ever so much." It's like, I've split that dude in half.
But it's a tough one, isn't it? Because if you were going for like a completely saint like hero, you're a good wizard. How would you then, if you do have to go and fuck up some Ashwinders?
Well, you would just like disarm them and then like freeze them or whatever, like they do in the movies. And one issue I have as well is there's one mission where you learn how to, slight spoiler alert, where you learn how to lockpick, and there's prefects about. And you have to be like turn your stealth on and not get caught by the prefects because you're out after curfew. After that never happens again. You're wandering around at like 2 in the morning.
I would love it if
Yeah.
at night there were prefects just roaming the halls
Yeah.
of Hogwarts, and if they didn't
I
catch
said
you,
this.
they sent you back to your room, and it just like skipped time to the next day. I would
like
love
you
it if that
messed up.
happened, because I thought that would be really good, because that, like, you should, like, obviously there's a big emphasis on who is it? It's the caretaker who's like students out of bed at night or whatever he says, and
Yeah.
so there's such a big sort of thing about, you know, you're not allowed to go around the school at night, you know, get back to your dorm, but yeah, you can run around the castle as much as you want in the middle of the night and no one cares.
And they openly send you to the Forbidden Forest.
Yeah.
So go and look in there for a little bit. Oh, okay.
I'll meet you in the Forbidden Forest.
I'll meet you there.
So Ang,
I
did you
do-
say the Forbidden Forest?
Yeah.
I do understand again your point because I think the devs probably did think about nighttime, because how couldn't they? It was such like a prevalent part. But then how do you balance that with the players?
I just think
and
you
And
just
the freedom
need,
as well
like,
that they're trying to offer.
It doesn't have to be littered with prefects, but maybe there's like towards the exits you have to be a bit sneaky to get out of it, because if you want to go and do something, but also you can just jump around that with the fast travel. So maybe they thought, oh, they're only going to fast travel anyway. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I've got
that's
a
true.
criticism too, actually, that I'd like to see fixed. So you can, for those who don't know, you've got up to 4 different, what's the word I'm trying to look for?
Spell slots.
Yeah, spell slots. So you can assign 4 different spells and you can cycle through them. So you can have all your combat spells in maybe 3 of them. And in the 4th one, you've got some other spells that aren't maybe combat focused. I find it quite jarring that during combat, when I'm trying to cycle through my spells, I might accidentally switch to my spells that include what's the
Conjuring
right-
a fucking table in your room of
yeah,
requirement.
yeah. Spells, or
Yeah.
making my wand into a torch. I can't remember what the spell names. I'd like to be able to
Lumos.
say Lumos. That's the
Torch show.
one. Like the Romeo.
Ruscio.
I'd like to have the ability to assign, like, this is a combat row of spells. This is a combat row of spells. This is a
Oh, so it locks
non-combat
them
row
when you
of
go
spells.
into combat. Okay.
Yeah, so when I'm in
Yeah.
combat, I can't
I know what you mean.
accidentally flick to... Because when you're out exploring, it's useful to have your Lumos bound, and then you might suddenly get into combat when you haven't got time to switch them out, so you don't... So I'd just like to see combat spells, non-combat spells. Don't take me to the combat spells if I'm during combat.
I had this thing happen like this where I had unlocked 2 rows of spells, and then I had one which was always my combat one, and one was the exploration one. After a cutscene, or I would go a little bit, it would automatically switch back to the top one, which was like repair row and stuff like that. And before combat, it would always seem to switch, even though I was on the combat one. It jarring.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
had to keep like running away,
Yeah.
quickly switching, coming back
Yeah,
in.
because I was wondering if there was, they probably did toy with the weapon wheel kind of system at some point. Because obviously you got the tool wheel where you can use your sort of combat plants and your potions and stuff like that. But I there's so many spells, I don't really know how else they would do it. But being able to lock the certain spells out of use in combat would be a really good thing.
Yeah,
Or
I'd
maybe
like to
have
see
like some
that.
kind of dynamic thing so that when you go into combat, it changes your spell set to your combat spell set like by itself.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
or maybe they add it to the tool wheel and like you can choose combat, you can choose exploration, and then it unlocks all of your combat sort of spells that you can scroll through. Then all of your exploration spells that you can scroll through or whatever.
I don't
Because-
like the tool wheel.
I never use
Do
it.
you use mouse and keyboard or controller?
Mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, same.
So I'll, for example, to get the broom, I'm holding tab, and then
3.
and then typically I'll just click on the broom, but then I'll get off the broom, and then I'll think, right, tab. Oh no, I've just thrown some cactus or whatever it is, like a cabbage.
chomping cabbage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one.
It's like, no, I just wanted to get on my broom. I feel like there should be just
Yeah.
a dedicated key to just get on the broom.
Yeah, just a
especially
random
on
one, like
keyboard. There's
Y.
no reason why they don't have
Yeah.
that on keyboard, because you've got your whole keyboard to assign the key to.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you know, is it? I think it's B by default to land your broom. Just have that where, all right, you're getting on your broom
B.
B.
because
Broom. Makes
why
sense.
do I
Yeah,
need
B
to
for
go
broom.
into a separate separate menu just to
Yeah.
So that's a bit
Yeah.
in line for me.
Yeah. I'd like to see some of those changes.
Yeah.
Oh, just curious. Did anyone, when they made their character,
Mhm.
pitch the voice down?
Yeah, I did.
No.
Because I did, and the voice sounds robotic for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I noticed that as well.
It's like it just, I don't know.
Well, you can tell it's been
immersion breaking, I would
processed.
say.
You can tell it's been like it's got processing in it, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
obviously they've the whoever
It's the same
recorded the
voice.
voice in real life, it's the same voice. It's just been pitched lower, so you're gonna hear, that kind of the byproduct of that would be, robotic
Yeah,
noises.
my guy sounds like a cyborg half the time.
Did you put it down then?
Yeah.
Oh, I just kept my default. Another
I
thing
did.
I'd like to see.
Okay.
So the game being very immersive, I want to play it as immersively as possible. So as well as obviously changing into my school uniform, I like to walk around the school grounds. I don't want to be sprinting, running and gunning it everywhere. I want to take my time and go for a stroll. Unfortunately, every time you press the walk key, as soon as you stop walking, it untoggles it. So then you have to toggle it back on to walk, and it. I just want, if I toggle walk, just stay on walk.
Yeah.
It's such
It's
a
a massive issue in a lot of games.
I mean,
every time you move forward, you're just like sprinting everywhere. It's like, no, I just want to
let's
stroll around.
I mean, it sounds like we're moaning a lot, but let's
No,
just be honest.
we're
These
nitpicking.
these are minor quality of life improvements that we would like to see in the game because, I mean, like we've said, overall the game is fantastic. It's a brilliant game, and I am personally really, really enjoying it. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't expecting much from the story itself, but I am really enjoying the story.
Yeah,
and I
me
feel like the
too.
whole kind of ancient magic thing really helps to fill out like the history of the magic world. And I don't know if that would be considered canon for the Harry Potter books, but it's interesting to see that kind of history there and to see how witches and wizards possibly had access to this long lost magic from centuries ago.
Another thing about the ancient magic that I think is crucial to making the game more akin to the films. So Harry Potter's special. The one thing about Harry Potter is everyone knows him because of his past, and he is the main character. Even if the story was based on someone else, Harry Potter is the main character.
Yeah.
To make you're not just some generic student, you are special, and by having the ancient magic, and people already know your name before you arrive. So the same way Harry Potter goes into a shop and you're Harry Potter. In the game, I feel like just as special, if you know what I mean. It's maybe a weird thing to say, but I feel like they nailed it in regards to that. Like I feel different. I feel special. I feel unique.
That's a really good point because, sorry, Colin, to cut you off there, because it would be very easy for if there wasn't that kind of like uniqueness about the character that you've that you're playing, it'd be very easy to kind of be distracted by the whole Harry Potter thing and like Voldemort, like these big names that are in the universe. It would be easy to sort of like think about or even fantasize about, well, where does my character fit in? Where does he compare to all of those? But the fact that you are special and you have got this link to this, long lost kind of forgotten ancient magic, it really makes the story really interesting for me. And I am thoroughly enjoying the story and enjoying the characters and enjoying the characterizations of all the different sort of people in the world. And Professor Fig as well. What a guy. I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
Gee.
Yeah.
I am a little bit weirded out by how accepting every student is to like this random fifth year popping up.
Yeah.
Like you would like it's probably
Well,
systematic to,
like if you were at school and you'd be at
and
school,
you're the new
and then like
kid.
in like year 10 or year 11, just some random kid joins, you'd be like, who the fuck are you?
fuck's
Where you
this?
from? What were you
You're
doing
not making
here?
any friends here, mate.
Yeah.
Like, there's the one thing, like obviously they want you to be part of the story and all this, but like you would get something fucking said, like, where have you been? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why is this random 50
But could you imagine how much, I mean, I'm not accusing the developers of being lazy, but could you imagine how much extra narrative work they'd have to put into the game if you joined that school from year one? Like you'd have to have your family would have to be involved, all your friends from like growing up through school would have to be involved, all the history of like those previous 4 years would have to be sort of explained. Like there would be so much work. It kind of makes sense for them to just have a fresh face in this school where you kind of get dumped into it and no one knows you, because then it kind of feels like you yourself, when you play the game, are joining the school as well for the first time. There's not all this backstory you got to catch up on.
That's it. And I think that's a great point. Another point is you wouldn't be able to learn half the spells, because obviously they'll learn spells as they go up the years. But I think the development part of it is key. Like, how would they develop 4 or 5 years?
You'd be in the middle of a fight and your classmate would be like, use incendio, and you would be like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
Because you haven't learned it yet.
What is that? Why are you talking Latin?
Unless you're a foreign exchange student from one of the other schools.
Well, I quite like that. The sound of that school. That do you remember the character Natty? So she went to a school where they don't use wands; they can wield magic with their hands. I want to go to that school. Yeah, that's the school I want to see, because they all sound OP as fuck over there.
But that's another point about the game. I love the way it fleshes out the lore of the Harry Potter world. I never knew about a school in Africa.
Yeah.
Or that there were other schools further than Europe, or
magic
America.
schools. Because in the books and in the films, in the only kind of like thing you get from other sort of like magic schools are the ones you see at the Quidditch House Cup, not Quidditch House Cup, the Goblet of Fire, like the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, the whatever it's called, the Triwizard Tournament. That's what I was trying to say.
That's the one.
So you see those other 2 schools come in, and apart from that, you don't really know anything else outside of sort of Hogwarts and outside of Hogsmeade and the area and you know, the Ministry. That's all you kind of know about.
Do you know what else I love?
Okay.
I love the integration with the Harry Potter fan club app. So where,
that's a great touch.
Yeah, I was so, in the lead up to the development and the trailers that we'd see, I was like, I really hope, because I hadn't seen it anywhere or even saw it hinted anywhere. But the fact that, so I'll go from the start. For those of you who don't know, there's a Harry Potter fan club like questionnaire basically where you can take part in this interactive quiz and it will try and find the house that best suits you. You can also do your wand and you can also do your Patronus. The game, when you boot it up, wants to link with this Harry Potter fan club app so that your house will be chosen and your wand will be chosen, or like it will be linked to your app so that your house will be pre-selected, because obviously you've got into Gryffindor or Slytherin or whatever, and your specific wand will also be assigned to you because your questionnaire has found the items or the house best suited to you. So I love that. If that makes any sense.
I think I'm cursed with that sort of stuff because it took me like an hour to link my account because the server was just busy when
me
I was doing
too.
it.
Yeah.
I had like
Everyone was on it.
Division
trying
1
to do it.
vibes.
Yeah, I thought
I
I'd
had Division
fucked it
1
up.
vibes for that fucking queue. I was sitting there like, I was like, come on, just link. And then it kept, I got like the the Mac wheel of death just kept going around.
Yeah.
I was like,
I accidentally
I
closed
didn't get
it.
any of that. And I don't know if that's because I was playing on yours initially.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe.
But, didn't get
Did you,
that
what
option.
house did you get in, Charlie? Just out of interest.
We should have started with that.
Initially,
Well, we can end
me,
with it. We can end with it.
It wanted me to go in Ravenclaw.
oh,
Big up Ravenclaws.
I'd already done the quiz before,
Yeah.
and I am a Hufflepuff.
So, quick
I've
question
changed it.
then. So,
Okay.
was there a questionnaire within the game to find your house?
Yeah, so it asked you certain questions.
Oh, so I
can't
skipped
remember
that
what they were,
obviously
but-
because I did the app.
Well, I did the app. I linked my account, but then I still got the questionnaire, and it still put me in the house that I selected, like on the website.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I don't know if I pressed something wrong, but I still ended up in Ravenclaw because that was the house that I was given when I did the questionnaire on the Harry Potter fan site.
Yeah.
And I got the same wand and
the-
everything, so I don't know.
Mine come up with like you've been put in Ravenclaw.
But you can choose otherwise.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can change if you want.
I didn't get that.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
what I got.
offered to do the questionnaire, but I still got Ravenclaw anyway. Just a
So are
Ravenclaw.
you
at
both
heart.
Ravenclaws?
Yeah, me and Connor are.
Mm.
I'm
Ben
a
is
Gryffindor.
goody two shoes.
You're goody two shoes.
I'm a
Not
hero.
one Slytherin.
I
think,
thought one of
um,
you twos would have been Slytherin.
Both
Yeah,
of them,
I
to
mean,
be honest.
I quite like Slytherin.
Fucking
That
snakes.
would have been if I could choose, that would be the one that I'd join. However, I wanted to stay true, and do the quiz and just
of
live
course.
with the house I was given.
Play by the rules. Yeah.
Play by the
I've got a
rules.
question for everyone.
Okay, right. Let's get on with it because we need to wrap this up.
Yeah. What is your character's name?
It's my name.
Mine's just James.
Oh. What's yours, Charlie?
Mine, but slightly twisted on my second name.
Mine is Phineas Flynn.
Of course it is.
You want it to be as immersive as possible.
Yeah, of course.
Is he
Yeah,
ginger?
but that's not you though.
Nah.
So are you playing? Are you Phineas?
No,
you
the
role-playing as Phineas?
I am Phineas Flynn. Not me. I
You're
am not
not.
Phineas Flynn. But I
You're
am
Ben.
playing as. It's like if I'm playing as Kratos. Like I'm playing as
Oh, okay.
Kratos.
But you wanted to
I
give
am
him like
playing-
a cool name for it to be sort of part of the story.
Yeah, I didn't make him look like me or anything. Like
No,
he's definitely uglier.
is that
How
possible?
can it be?
How could it be?
Sorry, it's your birthday. I shouldn't say that.
Right. Well, that was our Harry Potter deep dive.
Well, hey.
So just to wrap up this week's episode, a couple of game releases to look forward to. Actually, Atomic Heart, which will be out by the time this episode gets to our listeners, as will Sons of the Forest, which we spoke about earlier, both releasing on the 21st and 23rd respectively. As well as that, we also have the next big expansion for Destiny, Lightfall, arrives on the 28th. Are you guys picking up any of these games? You got your eyes on any of those?
Destiny keeps drawing me back in like every 18 months.
I'm trying
it
not
feels
to
like.
look at it,
Yeah.
but I can't help it.
Yeah, I don't know about Destiny. I might do. I just.
It just
I
gets
don't know.
its hooks into me. Like
Yeah.
I won't think about it for ages, and then it'll be like, oh, here's a new expansion. Jump in. I'll jump in. I'm like, oh god, I'm back to the grind.
What
I
about
don't know. I feel like I've missed the boat.
I thought you'd be all over Atomic Heart.
I'm gonna be like that. That's my most anticipated game this year, so I'll be all over that. But something about Destiny, I think it's Bungie. I just trust them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie?
Nah, not really.
No. Not
Not
interested
really
in
my
any of
cup of
those.
tea.
Gotta just stick with Hogwarts
You said
Legacy
that
for
with
now.
Hogwarts.
Yeah, you said that with Hogwarts.
I mean, yeah, that is true. That is
Atomic
true.
Heart's on Game Pass. You should try it, Charlie.
Well, I'll give it a go.
If it's on Game Pass, you might as
Love
well.
a bit of Game Pass, so. But no, not Destiny. It's not really my thing. So that's a real fucking down shit thing
James?
to say.
What about you,
Did you
James?
buy any of them?
I'm probably going to check out Atomic Heart because it just looks like Bioshock set in a weird sort of Soviet era Russia. Sons of the Forest as well. I mean, I know we spoke about it earlier, but I'm definitely interested to check that game out because I never played The Forest, but Sons of the Forest looks awesome, so I'm definitely interested in that. And I'm just not thinking about Destiny at the moment because I refuse to let myself get suckered back into that game, even though it will likely happen at some point. So, yeah, I guess I'll check them all out sooner or later. Well, that was episode 1 of Checkpoint Radio. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you can catch us every other Friday with our next episode, episode 2, releasing on Friday the 10th of March. In the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram at Checkpoint Radio, that's all one word, where we post up-to-date news and other gaming-related stuff. We also have a Discord server. We'd love for you to come and hang out with the community, chat to us directly, and you can tap the link in the bio of our Instagram page if you want to join that. If you want to reach out to us directly, you can send an email to hello@checkpointradio.co.uk. We would really love to hear from you. But that's all for now. My name is James.
I'm Ben.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Charlie. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.